Hey there, good morning. Do you know what this is? This is the Baghdad battery. It was found in Baghdad in 1936 or 1937. I don't remember the exact year. It's one of those. Why I wanted to show you this is because they told us for years that they didn't know what this was for, this battery. But how did we not know what it was for and we already had modern day batteries at that time? And it's set up exactly like a battery. Hold on. Okay, so this is a modern day battery. All right, and you can kind of see the similarities here. You have your positive and your negative, so that would be your copper and your iron. You have the battery casing, of which it is in, and then you have the electrolytes on the inside. Okay, and as well as other chemicals like lithium and whatnot, and then you have a battery which you can then use to power your devices. So hold on, keep in mind, at the same time they told us they didn't know what this was. This Baghdad battery, a Baghdad battery is in a clay pot. In that clay pot they have a copper rod and an iron rod, and it's connected down there at the bottom, not touching. And then the rest of it, this part here, was filled with liquid, not just any type of liquid, an electrolyte type liquid, more likely than not, salt water, ocean water. And the chemical compound of the copper, the iron, and the salt water would create energy. It would create a charge, which you could then use, especially in those times. If they had that, they had flashlights. If they had flashlights, they had regular lights. If they had regular lights, they had this on lock, meaning they knew what they were doing, exactly what they were doing. The thing is, today, if you take a clay pot and you take an iron rod and a copper rod and you do this exact same thing, you can make your own Baghdad battery. You can generate your own free electricity. But the government doesn't want you to know that. All right? Some things that you guys should look into: Tesla, and not the bullshit that the FBI said, oh, he was trying to make a death rate. No, 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 no. Back when he was being funded by JP Morgan, before JP Morgan figured out that Tesla wanted free energy and pulled his funding and started funding Edison, right? So, Tesla, for sure. And then just Google free energy patents expired. Um, don't judge me. There was a wasp. Anyway, okay. Google free energy patents that have expired. Google saltwater batteries, because there's a couple different people who have figured that out. Um, Atmospheric energy batteries and devices. These are things you can look it up on Google. If you really want to get like the nitty gritty, I would suggest getting you a VPN. You can get a VPN. I personally, I go to. You don't need to know. Get you a VPN so you can get information that's found outside of the United States, right? Because other countries also talk about it. And do your research from there. And honestly, I built. This is much more complex, but not really, because it's using the same components. And as you can see in that picture, I only left it up there for a brief second, but you can go back and pause it if you want to. It is using the exact same thing. You have your copper. I didn't use iron. I used zinc because it's also conductive, but I think iron or magnesium is like the most conductive. Okay. Um, you do the same thing. Uh, Mine was not attached at the bottom because it was a precursor, just a little mini prototype, right? So you put your iron and your copper in there. You fill it with your electrolytes. I used salt and vinegar because it reacts better. And you can power a small LED. Now Just imagine the types of things that they had that they could use and they could plug up into this Baghdad battery. Think about the things that the battery's charged. Think about the things that the battery's charged. When I tell you that we have de-evolved, I am so serious. Because how is it we knew how to do this, but 100 like, and this is like thousands of years ago. Now keep in mind, but like 150 years ago, like everybody had to work off of candlelight and firelight. Ancient Romans and surrounding countries, Africa, Rome, Carthage, etc. They had plumbing, indoor plumbing. They had lights. But then in the Middle Ages, we were working with candles and chamber pots. Why do we have so many gaps in history? Now, ancient Romans, and ancient Greeks, ancient Scythians, these are well-known, advanced cultures from thousands of years ago, had the knowledge of plumbing. They had the knowledge of batteries. They had the concept of how people could live. This okay, is something that in ancient times everybody would have been able to have free energy. Do you think they had a light bill in ancient times? No. They had a water bill. I'm not gonna lie about that. They had a water bill, but they didn't have a light bill in ancient times. Sorry, they didn't pay for electricity, right? They didn't pay for plumbing, right? The basics to live, right? All I'm saying is, all I'm saying is, learn your history, the history that they didn't teach you specifically because they didn't want you to know. Because if you know, then how can they trick you? If you're not stupid, how can they control you? I'm not calling y'all stupid. I'm telling you what they said, okay? If we're all stupid, if we all don't know our actual history, if we all don't know the facts and we only believe what they tell us, so easy to brainwash and control. And then you notice like the people who come up with like this stuff, like modern day people, like they die usually of a heart attack. Sometimes they get attacked randomly, or suicide. Anybody who ever tries to expose the truth always seems to mysteriously die. So I just want to preface this by saying I'm not suicidal. My health is good. Um, my breaks are good, right? Um, I'm loving my life right now, and I'm absolutely thriving in my meditation and in my research. So I'll be back later to share more good news. Bye.